Hi, I'm Tim, the cheap 3D printer. Today we're going to take this and turn it into this. This idea started a couple months ago when my wife purchased for me a roll of rainbow filament, and she bought this WYZ Works 3D filament. You can see this one's empty. She bought that for me for my birthday, and the WYZ Works rainbow filament is one continuous rainbow. It's not like some of the other ones that have the gradients, multiple times through. It was one continuous rainbow from red through yellow, through orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and then all the way back to red again. And so I realized I needed to print something large in order to utilize the rainbow and be able to see it. As a matter of fact, I printed a couple of vases, and you can see these vases show absolutely no gradient in them at all. Here's one I printed, and the next one I printed. In the video, you may not be able to tell this one's a little bit more red than this one, but not much. But you cannot see any rainbow gradient at all. So you had to do something bigger in order to realize the rainbow. And so I started thinking about it, and I started also thinking about the fact that I would love to have a chess set in my office, but I don't want just a little bitty chess set. I wanted something a little bit bigger. So I found this chess set on Thingiverse or My Manufacturer, I'm not sure which. I'll leave a link below. But I like the design of them. They're really cool, really nice, and so I decided to print them at a larger scale. I believe these are 170% of the original. And so I printed this one first, the orange or the red to yellow. The pawns go red to orange. You can see them here. The knight ends up with a nice orange at the top. The rook has starting to get a little bit yellow in it. This is the king. The queen is here. Again, she's in all the way up to yellow. And this guy. So that was the first set. I decided to print that first set, and then after that I would print the second set. I started printing the second set, and unfortunately I had a failure. And it failed pretty far into the print, so I didn't have enough filament to finish, so I had to order another roll of WYZ Works filament. And what I did with it was I took it and I reversed it. So I actually put a spool holder in here with a bolt and put it on my drill and rewound it. Actually, I didn't put it on this one, I put it on another filament roll, and rewound it opposite, and I came up with when this one printed like this. So they are very much a stark contrast between the two. You can definitely tell which side is which, right? So that was the beginning of the project. And then I decided I needed a board for it, but I didn't want just any plain Jane board. So I got into Fusion 360. I started designing my own board. My wife said, why don't you make it to where you can have checkers and put the checkers down in the bottom of the board, so make kind of a box, and then when you want to play checkers, you can pull the checkers out, but they can stay stored in there. So I designed a board, designed a box anyway, and it is huge because this is huge. This thing is 60 millimeters across here, and so I had to have a chessboard that was quite large. So these are all pieces for the chessboard, black and white. I actually went traditional with that. But then the box underneath, I used the gradient again, filament, and these printed upright like this, 4 of them. This was a 2.5-day print to print these. All in all, there's about 100+ hours, actually probably close to 200 hours of print time in this chess set. With all these I printed these in sets of 9 because that's what would fit on my AM8. So I printed these in sets of 9. Each set took 5 hours, 5.5 hours. I had 4 sets of those, so there's over 20 hours just in the black pieces, over 20 hours just in the white pieces. 2.5 days for these, to print, and each one of these was 8 hours. So you can start to add up how many hours it took to print it. So what we're going to do is we're going to change it. We're going to make it into an actual chess set today. So I'm going to put all these pieces back in a box. We'll get back to them in just a minute. We're going to start out with the box that goes in the bottom, and we're going to glue it together. We made these support pieces here that will support the middle parts, and then these will also support these boards here to give some support to it. So, be back in just a second when I get my area cleared off. Okay, so the plan is to take these, marry them up like this, glue them together. The other side will then come across here like this, marry them together, and then we'll glue them both together. So we're going to start out with this here, and you should be able to see in the close-up what I'm going to be doing. Just going to check the edges. I'm going to use this burr tool just to kind of go across the edges to make sure there's no problems. Okay, got all that done. We're going to have to do that same thing to these black pieces in a little bit to make sure that we get all the lips off so they will fit. But we should now have a decent enough edge to do that. I'm going to take a little bit of sandpaper. We're going to just rough up the edges a little bit here. You do need to have a fairly large printer in order to print this stuff. These things are 245 millimeters by 245 millimeters each one. So the whole board is 490 millimeters. So it's a rather large print. I use my AlphaWise U10 to print all this for these boards, and use some other printers to print other things. I use the Tronxy X5S to print the white ones. I use the A-Lunar, it's my A-Lunar M505, but it's now the AM8 to print the black ones, and all the big pieces were printed on the AlphaWise U10. So, let's go ahead and get this gluing up. We're going to start with some Gorilla Glue, Super Glue. This is what I've got. It's gel. I also have some cheapo Harbor Freight super glue, which is what I'll probably end up using near the end because I'm sure I'll run out of this. So we're just going to put a little bit of glue here. And we're not going to put any on that edge because I'm going to use these support pieces on that edge. Just want to put a little bit on this here. And glue these two pieces together like so. I'm actually going to go grab some clamps. Okay, so I had three I was going to have to do. What we're going to do too is we're going to place these in here. These are little support pieces that I made. We're going to put a bunch of super glue on here. We're going to glue these in to give some support. And then I made them to where they would cross each other and sit flush. So they will do like that. And they will form a nice cross member support piece. So, a little bit of glue there. Now, if you got something heavy to put on that, would be good. I think I'm going to use just a couple filament rolls. Okay, while everything's curing, double check and make sure it's nice and tight. Looks good. And we'll be back in just a few minutes when it dries. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes or so. I think things will be cured. We're going to take everything off here and check and see how this board is. And there we go. It's definitely not perfect. My seams here are not great, but that's going to be cool sitting down in my office. So that part's done. That's the bottom of the case, bottom of the box. I may end up, throwing a little more glue in these joints just to make them a little bit stronger, but they're good enough for now. So we will set that aside. So you can see that full-size board. Now we got to work on these. We got 4 of these to put together. These are going to be the top. The way this is going to work is these are going to slide into here, or glue into here, one after another, black, white, black, white, black, white, to make the board. So now we got to glue this together. This is going to be a similar process, but these supports are actually going to go on the bottom of this, not the top. So let's figure out how we're going to do this. I think with this, I'm not going to glue the edges. I don't think there's any reason to necessarily. I think I'm just going to glue these support pieces. Make sure you don't have any boogers or anything on the edges. This one has a... With this Gorilla Glue, this gel Gorilla Glue, it's got a better set time. It's not... it doesn't set immediately, so it gives you a little bit of time to mess with things if you need to. So we're going to go ahead and put this on there like that. You just want to double check and make sure you've got pretty much even gap on both sides, because the way this is going to sit, it's going to have to work because it's set. So we're going to set some filament on top of this one, and we'll be back in a few more minutes. All right, it's been just a few minutes, probably 5 minutes or so, and I'm fairly certain this is already set because the glue was setting pretty fast when I put down the supports. So let's go ahead and take this off. Gives us a nice solid board to work with, and show you how this is going to work. So on my desk, or in my office, this will set on here, just like that. And all these pieces are going to go in here, all the way across. So we're going to push this to the side for now. We're going to work on these, the black and white pieces. We're going to work on the black and white pieces here, because all of them need to be, use the burr tool here to make sure they're going to fit. So we're just going to go through each one of these. And we are okay, so I have used the burr tool around the black ones primarily because they're the ones that were the worst, and test fit the outer rim on the board. You can see here in the close-up camera that I have test fit all this here. I did have to take some sandpaper. I love this stuff here. I'm not sure, it's like got a silicone back or something. It's really good sandpaper. It lasts a long time. It's really flexible. You can wash it off. It's good stuff. So I like this stuff. So anyway, I did have to go through and sand the edges on all of them because I did not factor in enough clearance on each piece. So I do have the outer rim done. I'm going to glue this outer rim in place, and then I'll work on the inside and go from there. So let's get it gluing. Alright, so I'm going to just continue working my way around, doing the next inlay here, and working my way to the very middle. And when I come back to you, you will see this completed, and we'll put the chess pieces on and see what it looks like. Okay, so it's been a couple days since I started filming this video, and it took me a lot longer to make this to assemble this than what I originally expected it to. But it's done. I want to tell you why it took me so long. I did not put enough clearance in these pieces, the white and the black, to build it. So what I ended up having to do is get out some sandpaper, and I had to sand down each side of these, primarily the white ones. The white ones came out a little bit bigger than the black ones did. So different printer, that's definitely why. So I had to sand down each side to get them to fit, and then fit each row, glue it down, do the next row, glue it down, and keep going. And so it took me quite a while to assemble it during that day. I had to wait for things to dry before I could do the next row. Super glue sets pretty quick, but you want to make sure it's nice and set before you start messing around with things. So it took me a while to get it done. I also had some other projects going on around the house, replacing a battery in my son's Galaxy S6, which did not fix the issue. So anyway, I had some other things going on at the same time, so I was going kind of back and forth to get it done. Did finally get it completed, and it is absolutely spectacular. I'll show you the picture here, and a 360-degree viewpoint. You can look at it here. To me, it kind of has a very Alice in Wonderland type of feel to it. It just does. To me, it feels, I don't know, the black and white with the rainbow colors in it, just to me has that feel. I want to show you again some of the pieces. I don't know. Here's the king. He's absolutely stunning. I think he's so cool, the red all the way up to the yellow. And then the matching king on the other side goes from red all the way up to green. And they're just really stinking cool. This is going to be awesome in my office as I put it out. The queen, I just got to show you some of these pieces because I think they're just absolutely the coolest thing on the face of the earth. I love this set. I love it. It's going to be cool in my office, and we're going to enjoy it, taking turns, 1 turn a day in my office. So this a game is going to last quite some time, except I'm terrible at chess, so it may not last that long at all. If you want to make one of these, I'll have the files up on Thingiverse. I will adjust the size of the black and white panels so that way you won't hopefully have to sand them down, at least not as much as I did. So I will adjust the size in Fusion 360 before I export the STLs again. The case at the bottom will be on Fusion 360, or is made on Fusion 360, will be on Thingiverse, and you can make the whole thing. You do have to print it on a very large printer. Each individual section of the bottom and even the tray where the pieces are at, each one of those is 245 millimeters by 245 millimeters. So you do have to have a pretty large printer in order to do that. A CR10 is perfect size for it. I don't have a CR10, but a CR10 would be perfect size for it to be able to print those pieces. So I hope you enjoyed watching me as I assembled or checking this out. If you want to make one of these, like I said, yourself, you'll be able to buy, get the box on Thingiverse. I will also post a link to the actual chess pieces that I used. I did size these up to where the bottom of the king is 60 millimeters. That's how this whole thing is designed. The bottom of the king is 60 millimeters, and that is how all of this was designed and set up and made to work. So, like I said, hope you like it. If you like what I'm doing, please click subscribe below, hit the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think of this project or any other projects that you want to see me do, and would love to hear your feedback. Like I said, if you like what I'm doing, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like what I'm doing, let me know why. Let me know what I can change. Let me know what I can make better. Have a great day. Keep printing cheap.